Welcome to the Idle Talk podcast. My name is Peyton, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Jacob. This week, we are talking about Survivor 47, Episode 3, called Belly of the Beast. Spoilers for this episode and the previous episodes of Survivor 47. As always, probably don't need to mention it, but if you haven't seen this episode, go ahead and watch that first. We're going to dive right in. Jacob, what did you think of the third episode of Survivor 47?
You mean, what did I think of Rome's episode of Survivor 47?
Yeah, Survivor Rome. That's what Survivor is now.
I thought it was a good episode. Honestly, I think watching this season, I don't know how you're feeling, but like, there's just no one in the cast that I'm like, just like dying over. And I don't know what it is, but like in 46, there were so many people that I was like, oh, I love watching Hunter. I love watching Tiffany. I love watching Kinsey. I love watching Charlie.
Mm-hmm.
But there's like no one this season yet that I'm just like, I love seeing this person on my screen.
Yeah, I agree. There's nobody's standing out to me yet. I would say it definitely feels different from the past several seasons. Where, I mean, even in season 41 and 42, I think early on there were some standouts in terms of people that I was like really rooting for.
Yeah, you got Ricard in 41, and I mean, I was rooting for Marianne and Jonathan in 42. So
there were definitely people that you could gravitate towards really easily.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there are players here that I am excited to keep watching. And I think there's one, I'm not going to say, I'm definitely not as excited for them as anyone from any previous season. So I'm going to say it's definitely everyone on this season is lowest on the totem pole compared to all other seasons of the new era. But if I had to pick a few that I am the most interested in, I would say Anika is probably at the top of the list in terms of I'm just most excited about and am having the most fun watching. I think Anika's at the top. I'm really enjoying watching her. And then from there, surprisingly, Kishan, I enjoyed him this episode. We'll probably get into that. This is the first time we've actually been able to see him. So I think part of it as well, and we'll probably get into this more, and maybe it's just because this is the first season of the new era where we're seeing all three tribes kind of equally.
Yeah.
And so because of that, we're also seeing a lot less of everyone. So we're seeing more of everyone, but also less of everyone, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
We're seeing a wide array of people, but at low volumes in general. There are obviously the spikes in, this is Rome's episode, or whoever ends up going home, we're going to see them a lot more, kind of being front loaded in the first few episodes because we only get a little bit of time for their stories. But in general, I think you're right. Like, there's not a whole lot of time right now for us to get really attached to someone because we're not spending a lot of time with their tribes.
Mm-hmm. And like we'll get into that a little bit later after the result of the immunity challenge. But I will say what's been nice about this season so far is I feel like by like episode 4 of last season, we were both pretty convinced that someone from Yanu was gonna win or make it really far.
Oh yeah,
because they were getting so much screen time. There was just no way that someone from that tribe wasn't going to be sitting at the final 3. And so I will say, like, right now, I have no inclination about who's going to be sitting in the final 3.
I am actually really excited for the merge this season because it feels like this merge is going to be really messy.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't think the alliances,
they're not super
in
tight.
Any of these tribes are very strong. And I think they're going to go in pretty equal. And it feels like this could be the first time that I can remember where they're going in with 3 tribes with equal footing. Because normally it's like two tribes are strong and one tribe is really low on numbers. And so they kind of play this middle game for a little while. And it's just two tribes going at it. And so I think we could have a really interesting dynamic where if they're going in 3 tribes strong, that they blend really fast. And the tribe walls could fall down much, much more quickly than in previous seasons. And I think that is a really interesting dynamic. But I also think that because of how even players are going out, this is the prime season to do a tribe swap. If production was going to do it, I think they should have done it last season when a tribe was getting dwindled low. They clearly didn't want to do that. But it's like, if you're going to do one, why not do it now? Shake them up while it's super easy and even, and make your merge super interesting. I think you've got a great opportunity to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that could be really cool to see, to do a tribe swap when the playing fields are even. I think that would be really cool to see. But I kind of want to jump right into the beginning of the episode where we get confirmation from Gabe that the reason he played his idol was because of what he had seen in 46. And I thought that was really interesting. And I like that and Jeff and them talked about it on the On Fire podcast, but I like that we're kind of in this era where people are like taking the past reflections of Survivor and like using it to influence their decisions now. I still think Gabe made a bad decision playing it, but I do think it's interesting to think about how they literally were watching 46 airing and then immediately are going to play, and that's like fresh on their minds about what happened in 46.
Yeah, I think also, just given the uncertainty of rocks and that whole scenario being potentially in play, I think that also added to the unease of the whole situation, which further pushed Gabe towards the edge and made him want to just play the idol, which I think is, like, I'm not going to be mad about it. It's the sort of thing where I would always rather someone play an idol when they don't have to than leave with the idol in their pocket. And it's the sort of thing where it's like, it sucks, like, you didn't have to and you kind of knew you didn't have to, but it's better to do it when you think you don't have to than to do it. Because if you play it when the idol goes out in your pocket, you thought you didn't have to then as well. You know, either way, you think you don't need to play it. So it kind of, like, I'm not that mad about it. There's enough time for it to go back into circulation if he really wants to go out and get it. But I think that we overanalyzed the scenario, trying to really think it through, and everyone on Twitter was trying to overthink
trying to big brain it.
Even on Fire last week, they were trying to kind of explain it some and think through it, and then it's sort of just like, yeah, really, it's up in the air, uncertainty. I am not going home with it in my pocket. While we're talking about that idol, though, I do want to bring up another thing from On Fire that I thought was interesting, and I'm curious about your thoughts, was where Charlie said that the idols that are only good for one tribal
they're not risky.
They're not risky. They're less dangerous. They're, you know,
which I think I made that point.
Yeah,
as well.
We've talked about that. We've had that same thought, and because it's basically what we said last week was it's almost like individual immunity, and so it takes the guessing work out of it. And now Probst has said that he has that in his mind, and he's like, that's not a good thing. And so I think that mechanic's going to go away.
Oh yeah, it's gone for sure.
For 49, there's no shot that they're going to have idols that are only good for one tribal. Thanks, Charlie. He got rid of that mechanic right away just by talking to Jeff. And so I'm just curious if you have any thoughts on that, if you agree with Charlie, disagreed, like purely from watching the game, because Charlie's coming at it as a player.
Yeah. No, I mean, I agree. I think if you have a immunity idol that's only good for one tribal council, it takes the risk out of, okay, do I like play my cards and try and hold on to it for one more night?
Mm-hmm.
Or do I just go ahead and play it? Because that's the whole gamble with the hidden immunity idol is, do I save it and risk going home tonight to have one more shot at playing it? Because that's what everyone in 46 was gambling, because all of them knew that their name was out there, but they were willing to gamble their life on the island to try and have one more day that they could use this idol that could potentially propel them even further. But I'm always of the opinion, if you have even the slightest inclination that your name is getting thrown out there, you need to play the idol.
Yeah.
Unless you are like 100% sure, like Gabe was, and he still played it. But unless you're like 100% sure where the votes are going to fall, if you even think there's a remote possibility your name has been tossed out there, I would play it.
Yeah. And I think the Gabe situation is even a situation to think about it, because he was as close to 100% as you can be, but then was also aware that there's a chance it could go to rocks. So that even casts doubt in there as well. And I think that in Survivor, 100% is never 100%. So
yeah,
it's one of those things where, yeah, having an idol that's only good for 1 week, you might as well, like, it's barely an idol at that point. It's just a 1 week safety net. And so I think it is probably best to make idols that are good for extended periods of time, because then it becomes a gambler's dilemma. While we're still on that tribe, before we move off of Tuku, I'm an interesting development here that I'm curious if you have any thoughts about is Sue's bloodlust.
Yeah, that's what I was going to bring up.
And just wanting to get out Kyle. Just mad that Kyle,
which like I totally understand being upset that someone writes your name. Like Ben wrote remember when Ben wrote Kenzie's name last season?
Yeah, that was insane.
I understand getting butthurt when someone writes your name, but I feel like it's such a old Survivor mentality that whenever someone writes your name, that you're just like done with them. Because I feel like when you like completely shut the door on someone because of something like that, you are severely weakening your game. Because in Survivor, it's all about keeping your options open. It's all about who can I work with at this given time and who is going to like give me the best opportunity moving forward. So shutting someone out just because they threw a vote on you is honestly a huge blunder in my opinion. And it doesn't surprise me that Sue acted this way, because I feel like that's just kind of typical of older Survivor players, like people who are in like when they're playing with 20-year-olds, just usually the older generation, they're usually the ones who act like that. So I wasn't surprised that Sue acted like that at all, but I did think it was funny.
Yeah, the part of it to me that was a little bit surprising was that Kyle.
Well, she didn't care what Gabe said about her. That's what I thought was weird.
What the thing was, I don't think she believed Kyle at all. Like I think she just didn't believe Kyle, because Kyle's on the bottom. Why would she believe Kyle? Kyle's fighting for his life. So I wasn't surprised about that. I was surprised that Kyle never made the case that it was TK's plan, because it was TK. Like TK wanted to get out Sue, and Kyle was just going along with TK, and everybody on the beach knew that. And so I don't understand why that was never an argument to be made, because they got out TK, and Kyle could apologize, and obviously that's not going to make everything better, but be like, hey, I would like to work with you. I know right now you don't trust me. I threw a vote on you. Like I chose TK over you, but I would like the opportunity to earn your trust back, and I hope that I can. Hopefully we're not in a position to go back to tribal until the merge, and hopefully by then we can be in a place where we can work together, and sort of say that and get those words out, because I don't think Kyle really like was super for getting out Sue. It was just like, who's not in Kyle's alliance? It's Sue and Caroline. And TK really wanted to get out Sue. So I was surprised that Kyle didn't do that, but instead went after one of Sue's allies in Gabe, which just feels like not the right move. And then the way he did it in gathering everybody else on the tribe and having a conversation with all of them who are aligned with Gabe, and to going behind Gabe's back and trying to get them to all turn on Gabe, that feels like the wrong way to have that conversation. I just don't think that was ever going to work. I just don't understand that strategy. I feel like that wasn't strategy at all. And so that sort of approach is the kind of thing that makes me feel like Kyle's not going to be here very long, because I don't know how you, like, those are conversations you have one-on-one with people. You know what I mean? Like, why are you gathering the whole tribe and gossiping about one person, whether it's true or not? That doesn't look good to any of them when they're all aligned with them and you're clearly on the bottom, because now that just looks really bad optically. And why would anyone believe you? You know?
Mm-hmm.
So I just felt like Kyle sort of did that whole situation pretty poorly. I thought Gabe was smart trying to align with Kyle, and then Kyle was smart for sniffing out that Gabe's full of it. But
yeah,
I don't think Kyle went about anything there in the right way. And so I think Kyle's only saving grace as a tribe swap.
Mm-hmm. Unless Gabe just really wants to get out Tiana instead of Kyle.
Yeah, I don't know if Gabe's going to be able to make the swing for Tiana, because I don't think the girls are going to go after that. I just don't know if they'll make that swing. Like, I think they'll go with Gabe, but I don't think Sue's going to go for Tiana over Kyle, because she's got this crazy rage for Kyle right now. Mm-hmm. So she's going to want Kyle first if they go to tribal. And at that point, I think you're too close to the merge unless they drop the next two. But they did pretty good in the challenge, so I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Before we move over to Rome, who is really the main focus of this episode, there were two key moments at Gata that I would really like to talk about, because I think that they were hilarious and I think are really excellent examples of Survivor showing camp life. And we talked about this last season about how we want them to show more of this, and so I love that they included these moments in the episode. But Gata rearranging their camp to try and make it more comfortable, and the bickering between Anika and Sam, and then the fruits and veggies conversation. So I guess we can start with the shelter, and it just kind of Sam v. Anika. What did you make of that whole feud and conversation?
Honestly, I feel like I can see where they're both coming from, because one, like, if you listen to On Fire, you're, like Charlie said, you're not going to make Bamboo comfortable. No matter what you do, you are still going to be sleeping on this not comfortable hardwood. Yeah. And it has like ridges and bumps. It's not flat. The bamboo is literally round. So it's not like you're sleeping on like planks. You're sleeping on like half domes, essentially, is what you're sleeping on. So nothing you do is going to make it more comfortable. You kind of just got to suck it up. Or you just sleep on the sand. Those are kind of your two options. Yeah. So those are your two options. So I understand where Sam's annoyance comes from, but then I can also see where Anika is coming from, in the sense that she just like is trying to make camp more hospitable and enjoyable. I just don't think she is necessarily going about it the right way.
Yeah, it's the sort of thing where I think that I think they also said that they kind of barely worked on the shelter when they first got there, and they were just talking about how like the shelter's bad and they just needed to, like, she just wanted to like make it good. Just kind of like fix it, make it good. But then they also didn't have like a clothesline, to dry clothes. They needed to hang a clothesline and like random things like that should have been done on day one. And it's the sort of thing where it just didn't happen. And so I think like I think it makes sense why you want to get those things done, because one, obviously you're not sleeping. It's probably not very structurally sound. Your clothes are wet. All those sort of things are going to lead to you feeling demoralized and not performing well. We saw that last season with Yanu. Like, when you don't have a good environment to live in, it starts to really compound. And so I think she really wants to fight against that. And then Sam just really wants to go get food because they have the fishing kit. But they really can't do this stuff without Sam, because Sam is like the most physically fit person there. And so they really need Sam's help to actually get any of that done. And so there's this sort of like tension in Sam wants to go off and do something else, but the tribe needs him there. And Sam clearly does not want to be there. It kind of seems like everybody else wants to fix it. And then Anika also, they seem to just butt heads, the two of them. They just don't really get along that well. Their personalities just don't gel, and that happens. But I thought it was interesting in this moment how we actually see Andy's strategic mind for the very first time with his confessional.
I don't know what you thought about Andy giving his shot in the dark to Sierra. I thought that was an interesting play. I know it happens every once in a while, but I just don't know how I feel about it. I don't know if I'd give my shot in the dark away.
Well, he offered it up, saying that he would give it if he needed to, as a thing, because Sierra does not trust him at all. And so it was sort of a, like, here's how much you can trust me. So I think that was smart, because he needs to win over Sierra, because Sierra is Sam's number one, and he thinks that Sam is his number one. And so he's like, he needs to be able to form a trio. He needs to get Sierra. But what I thought was really interesting, and the strategy that I felt like we really saw there, was the confessional, where he talks about observing everyone in those tense moments. And he's like, you can only learn so much in having conversations with people, because people put on masks and, they're putting up facades and they're playing the game and all this, but you see the real people in the way they interact with one another. And talking about how they're like, Anika and Sam are not hiding the fact that they don't really like each other that much in the way that they're interacting with each other right now. And, Sam is clearly irritated with Anika, and Anika's clearly irritated with Sam. He's like, is there a way that I can use that to my advantage? And so him mentioning that, and the fact that they included that confessional, because they could have totally not included that and it wouldn't have changed the episode. The fact that they included it makes me think that's going to come into play at some point in the next few episodes.
Yeah.
So that's why I wanted to point that out. And then the vegetables and fruits it's just a fun moment. It reminded me of the song battle.
The song battle
between Charlie and Ben last season.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. Which, I mean, I kind of understand where Sam's coming from. I've tried most of those vegetables and fruits. I may not like them all, but I feel like most everyone on Earth has tried watermelon and pineapple.
Yeah, but he's never tried them. Didn't know what a lot of them were. Had never heard of so many of them.
Yeah,
which that was the part that was just
he was like he hadn't tried squash, hadn't tried zucchini. I don't know.
Yeah, it's just I was very surprised. A guy who talks about playing sports and all these sort of things.
I was about to say, what does
vegetables?
He eat? I mean,
he eats
chicken and broccoli every day.
Chicken and rice, and he probably has one or two vegetables that he likes, and then it's protein and okay-ish carbs, carbs that are fine for you, like rice or whatever, but probably not a lot of carbs, just high protein. He's just big meat eater. That's got to be it. But that makes the fact that he hasn't had that many vegetables. I foresee this man being hit with that survivor like food wall really hard. When you see a lot of the bigger guys just be drained and depleted of energy out there because they're not getting protein. If his diet is this like whack, I think there's a chance that if he's out there long enough, it could hit him really hard. Like we saw with Jonathan in 42, where he had to just like lay down all day. Obviously, Sam is not Jonathan, but I think that there's a chance he could hit a wall if he doesn't eat vegetables and the only thing they're able to eat out there is coconut.
I was about to say, do you think he had coconut before getting on the island?
I would imagine he's had it, but probably only in like desserts. I don't think there's any shot he just had raw coconut.
What dessert would you have coconut in?
I mean, you can have it like in cookies or
You're telling me this man who hasn't had pineapple will have had coconut before?
Yeah, he's probably had like a Girl Scout, like a what did they change the name of Samoas to?
I thought they're still Samoas.
No, they changed the name of them.
They changed them?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, they changed the name.
No, they didn't.
Yes, they did. They're just not called Samoas anymore.
They're literally called Samoas still on their website.
No, they changed the name.
Well, they're called both. They're called Caramel Delights.
Yes.
/ Samoas.
Yeah, because people like still know them as Samoas, but yeah, the name has changed to Caramel
Tagalongs
Delights.
are now called peanut butter patties.
The box that I got said Tagalongs. But
peanut butter patties / tagalongs.
That's weird. But yeah, anyways, but like he's probably had something with like coconut in it, or he's had coconut flavored things. Like he's probably had actually, I don't know. If he's not had pineapple, doesn't know how pineapple tastes because I don't know if he's had a pina colada.
That's what I'm saying. You're telling me he's had coconut before pineapple?
He's probably had Malibu. This guy has had Malibu. There's no shot.
I mean, if you've had jungle juice at one point, you've had Malibu.
Yeah, this man's probably had Malibu rum. I don't know. There's no telling. He's literally like they said, an enigma. You know who else is an enigma?
Who?
Rome. And I think at this we've made it to the point of the episode where we just have to divert the rest of our attention from here on out to Rome and company. The rest of the tribe.
It's really interesting seeing other people's reaction to him because he's so divisive. People either love him, they're like, "Oh, he's such great TV, he's so funny," and then, or they're like, "He's so annoying, get him out next. If he's not gone by next episode, I'm not watching anymore." Like,
I don't think anyone likes him in that they want him to win. Like, no one is on. I feel like there's probably some people who are Team Rome. But I don't think there's a lot of people who are just gung-ho, yes, let's go Rome. But there are definitely people who are definitely think Rome is just peak reality TV. And I kind of agree that Rome is the definition of reality TV character. He's just the chaos archetype for reality TV. And so it makes him entertaining. But that doesn't change the fact that I really am annoyed with him and the decisions he makes because it's going to result in better players than him going home.
Mm-hmm.
And that is frustrating.
Yeah. The first thing I kind of want to talk about is him with the Hawaiian sling and his whole...
Oh, my notes on that.
He has this like whole spiel about like he's trying to teach everyone to use the Hawaiian sling, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so good at it. Like, I'm the only one who can catch fish with it. Like, I'm the only one providing." And he catches these like puny fish, like so small. The shots of him like being like, "Oh, I caught a fish," and it's like the size of a quarter.
Yeah,
it's so funny.
I just don't understand his mentality. Like.
But I will say, sorry, one thing that like one scene that like pissed me off, and if I was this person, I would have like probably flipped a lid. So he catches all these fish, and he like doesn't want to share with Asia.
Oh yeah,
because Asia like he's like, Asia's not in my alliance. Asia didn't help get any of the fish, so I'm not going to share any with Asia. And he's like, I made sure to eat the last 2 fish right in front of her and smack. But the thing that got me was he spit out the bone and spit on her. He knew she was standing there. I don't think he did not mean to spit on her, but he meant to spit next to her. 100%. And if that was me, I know Asia got voted out, but I would have been gone because I would have been evicted from the show for homicide.
That's a bit extreme.
So I would have not tolerated that at all.
Yeah, it was so... I, for the life of me, do not understand his absolute disdain for Asia.
I don't get it either. I don't know where it comes from.
I don't know why he hates Asia so much. Because I can't remember anything we saw in the first 2 episodes to clue us into why they don't get along. But I don't think Asia did anything to make Rome distrust her. But Teeny literally did, and is in an alliance with Rome. Teeny and Kishan both went behind Rome's back, dug up Rome's idol. We're reading
they were basically forced into an alliance with him because they couldn't do anything to get him out.
Yeah.
And so because of that, they were forced to align with him kind of like against their will.
Yes. And so then automatically the 2 that are left out, because Rome's number 1 is Genevieve, the 2 that are left out are Asia and Sol, and Rome doesn't like either of them, but really doesn't like Asia, and we don't know why. And it makes all of the interactions with Rome and Asia so weird. And that's one thing that I really, really, really disliked about this episode. And it's not often that there are things that I dislike about a Survivor episode, but I felt like I left this episode incredibly unclear as to why Rome wanted out Asia and disliked Asia so much. And that could just be, maybe it was explained in a previous episode, but usually they will recap that if they're going home. And I just don't think it was made very clear as to why Rome wanted Asia out so badly. And it just makes it, when she goes home, feel like it sucks, because she is a better player than Rome is. Or obviously, I guess you can't say that if she's out first, but I think in a vacuum on another tribe, I think Asia's a better player than Rome is. But
I do wonder, had she not had the reputation she has and had any associate, do you think
Rome didn't know? The only one that knew was Teeny.
Yeah, but they could have told Rome.
Teeny kept it. Teeny said that they weren't going to tell anyone. And so because of that, I also think that's why Teeny voted for Sol. After thinking about it some, I think Teeny didn't want to vote for Asia.
I also think that too. I think that Teeny just wanted to not be liable for putting a vote on Asia.
Yeah, because they're a big fan. And honestly, if we're being real, Asia did not deserve to go home.
No.
There's no reason for Asia to go home in that scenario. Everybody wanted Rome to go home, but you literally cannot send Rome home. There's no way. He's going to play an idol that night, and then he's got other advantages too that could make an appearance.
Yeah.
And so it was a sucky situation.
I guess we can also talk about him on the journey. And him, Kyle, and Anika all go on the journey together.
I knew right away when I saw the boats, I was like, Kyle, Rome, 100% going on this journey.
Yeah, I knew once I saw the boat, I was like, Rome's going on this journey, and I guarantee you whatever advantage is there, he's going to get it. That's
I knew
how it always works.
I knew Rome was going to go, and I was like, I think it'd be great if Kyle goes. I think that's probably going to happen. That just feels like that would happen. And then I didn't really care who went from Gata, but Gata. I was like, it'd be great if it was Anika or Rachel because they're in the minority there.
Mm-hmm. But I just, whenever they first hit the beach and then Rome is instantly like, Asia and Seoul are running the show, which also, when did we ever see Asia and Seoul make an alliance?
They were forced into an alliance because they're the two that are out.
I guess
they're the two that were left out of the group chat, sort of thing, right? Like they're not involved in the four, and because of that, they are de facto in an alliance.
Can we also talk about the fact that the only thing we've seen of Genevieve in 3 episodes is her looking for an advantage on the bench?
Yeah,
that's literally it.
I made a note of that while watching. I was like, they keep cutting to Genevieve over here on the bench. Is she gonna go home tonight? Because I feel like they've not shown her at all, but they keep cutting to her. Is this their way of
has she had a confessional?
I think she's had a couple, but not very many.
Yeah, I don't know what's up with her, but she's invisible.
Also, I will say, Ben was invisible for the first half of last season. So
that is true.
I'm not worried about someone being invisible in the early season. Post-merge is when it matters more. But being invisible right now is not a big deal. Because there were a lot of people... honestly, being invisible right now is kind of okay. Right now, if you're highly visible, I think you're more likely to go home at some point. Because you're either going home you're either going home soon, and they're trying to get your story out now. Like, go ahead and get all the screen time, all the footage we got of them, because we don't have a lot of it. Or you're going to play a bigger role down the line, and then, you'll be voted out post-merge. But someone who's going to make it really deep, you don't necessarily need to show just a ton of them. You just need to remind people that they're there.
Mm-hmm.
And so, giving a little bit of Genevieve in this episode, I mean, it's a reminder that she exists. So that's, I think it feels very Ben-like,
Yeah.
So I'm not worried about that. It is weird that there's been zero, really not a lot of her, but she's allies with Rome, and Rome's going to take up all the screen time in that alliance. So what are you going to do?
I also thought it was crazy how when they go on the journey and they're asking Kyle who they voted out because the challenge hasn't happened yet. And Rome's like, "Oh, please tell me you voted out TK."
Yeah.
And he was like, "Yeah, we voted out TK." And he was like, "Let's go." I couldn't stand his ego. And I was like, is the pot calling the kettle black? Because and literally 5 minutes later, they go to the challenge and Rome is like, "Saul, if you do not let me do this first section, and you messed up, I'm going to be so angry because I know I could have killed this section."
Yeah, it's you can't stand his ego, but you have quite the ego, my friend. It's crazy.
He literally called himself Survivor Godson because Boston Rob is the Survivor Godfather, so there has to be a Survivor Godson, and that's Rome, apparently.
Yeah, he's the new coming of Boston Rob. You should call it Survivor Rome because he's running this thing. He should be the new host of On Fire. He is the fishing king. He is the only person on his tribe that is allowed to fish because he's the only one that has caught fish, but he's the only one that has caught fish because he's the only one that has taken fishing. And it's just, he's an enigma. I want him off my screen purely because I would like to see other people, please. And it's the same sort of deal with Q, right? Is he entertaining?
And Banu.
Is he entertaining? Yes. But I would rather see other people.
That's how I felt about Banu last season, too.
Yeah. The thing is Banu never felt like he stood a chance at going far. Rome gives me more Q vibes in that I just think Rome has built up a fortress around himself at this point where he has quote unquote allies who I don't think any of them are loyal to him. But he's got an advantage. He's got sort of allies who will cast votes with him when it's convenient. And he's a big target. Banu was never a target, so there was no reason to keep him around. Whereas Rome is a shield, and Q is a shield. And because of that, I don't really think anyone's going to be super inclined to get rid of him the longer the game goes on. And so I think Rome is almost locked to make the merge at this point. Unless they just get so incredible, like he does something crazy and they just get so sick of him, they got to get him out of there. I think he's locked to make the merge. And from there, I don't know what happens, but it's like Q. Once he's there, who knows what kind of craziness is going to ensue.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I think it's a very different type of consuming the screen than Banu. Because Banu shined bright. He won his million hearts and then was gone. Because he was just never gonna stick around that long. It wasn't sustainable.
I can't believe that's actually something that came out of his mouth.
Yeah. But Rome is different. Rome is much more like Q in the way that he's occupying the screen and is gonna exist, I think, as a meat shield for some of these other bigger threats, especially on Lavo. Like I think Teeny is going to hide behind Rome through the merge, because I think Teeny is a massive threat, and I think, but I don't think anyone's going to realize that if Rome is around and just going crazy running the show. I think Teeny's going to be able to sit back and chill.
Yeah. Well, it's also, I think that's a mark of a good player, of knowing that there is someone that you really don't want to work with and you would prefer to get them out, but recognizing that it's more advantageous to keep them in the game as a shield and smokescreen.
Yep.
To like put aside your personal feelings and just focus on strategy.
Mm-hmm. And that's the sort of thing with like Survivor Samoa and Natalie, and like kind of going all the way to the end with Russell Hantz, and not necessarily like taking someone there as a smokescreen, but being sort of willing to just play the game with someone even though you don't like them, and going, and then you're sitting at the end, in that case, sitting at the end with someone who no one likes. It's an easy win. Yeah. And so obviously I am not comparing Rome to Russell Hantz, but it's the sort of thing where I think everyone feels that Rome is beatable. And it was the same thing last season. Everyone feels that Q is beatable. So why would you vote them out? Because at the end of the day, you're there for $1 million. If you think someone can't win the $1 million, why would you vote them out? You're trying to vote out people that prevent you from getting $1 million or have a better chance at winning the $1 million than you, which is sort of the same thing as the first one.
Something, now that we're talking about like the end of the episode and getting close to wrapping up, I saw an interesting statistic that this was the 100th unique vote in Survivor. Like the way the votes were cast. This was the 100th unique way that votes have been cast. So it was 3-1-1-1. And it has never been like that before. So this was the 100th way that votes have been spread uniquely, which I thought was pretty interesting.
Yeah, because I guess it makes sense considering the number of votes cast can fluctuate depending on if it's pre-merge, post-merge, how many starting tribes, all that.
Mm-hmm.
And then, the fact that it was, 3 individual vote when there were 4 names read in a row, I was so confused. Because I knew it was going to be Asia or Seoul, but I was so surprised that Asia and Seoul couldn't get on the same page about who they were voting for.
Yeah, I don't know what that was about. I don't know how they didn't end up on the same page.
I was like, why did y'all not cast your vote for either Genevieve or Rome? Like, why did you split? That makes no sense. I don't get that. That was confusing to me.
I also will say, good job production and casting, you made the tribes even this time. You did a good job. I don't remember a time in the new era, or at least since in the 3-tribe format, where they've all gone to tribal like one after the other. So it's very refreshing to see.
And I will say also, just like they even feel even in the challenges, where when you're watching, there's this sort of give and take in the challenge where one tribe gets ahead and then they stall, and then another tribe catches up and then they stall, and then another tribe catches up and they stall. And it's like watching a horse race, and you kind of don't know who's going to come out on top or who's going to fall behind. Like this challenge, we skipped past it, but this challenge, I had no clue who was going to win. Until literally the end. We thought at the beginning Gata was going to be out of it pretty early because they just fell so far behind, and then they ended up winning. And it didn't feel like that. It just didn't feel like Lavo was gonna be the one to lose, because Rome, we were knocking him a lot this episode, but I will give him credit. He said he could do the first leg on his own and he could do it well, and he did. He did it without fail. So I will commend you, Senor Rome. You did that well, did it without fail. Beat everyone to the end, basically. Like, just kind of dominated that very first leg. And so they had a really good start. But then they fell behind, and it got to the point where they were so far behind. Jeff did something I've never seen before. Called the challenge before it was over.
Well, he didn't call it.
I mean, he did, but he didn't. He said
I'm pretty sure I think it was in 45 when they got split up into groups of 3, and Jeff was like, I'm betting on y'all to lose.
Yeah.
Do you remember what I'm talking about?
But then they didn't.
No, they did.
Did they?
Because Jeff was like...
Well, he didn't say he was betting on them to lose. He said everyone at home was betting on them to lose or something like that.
No. He was like, I'm calling it before the challenge. I think y'all are going to lose.
Yeah, but it was like 2 clearly strong, like very strong tribes, and then one that was just very small, or it was... Yeah, I remember what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But in this one, it was very much something that I hadn't seen, where 2 tribe, like the Gata had essentially finished. They had finished their puzzle. Tuku was very close to being done, but not done. But they were really close. And Lavo had a long way to go. And he essentially was like, I'm calling it right now. Lavo's going to tribal council with me tonight. It was essentially what he said. He's like,
yeah,
it's over. Lavo's going to tribal. It wasn't over, but had essentially said, like, you know how demoralizing that would be to hear? Just in the moment. That was what I immediately thought about, is when even Jeff has given up on you. The man who says never give up, dig deep, don't quit. Literally saying
y'all are losing.
Done.
You're coming
it
to
doesn't
tribal.
matter. Don't even attempt to finish. It's over. You don't have a shot. Absolutely wild. But I agree with you. This season, the tribes feel even. There hasn't been anything that caused a tribe to spiral in the way that, like, we saw with Yanu last season. I thought that was going to happen with Gata after Andy.
But they recovered.
They seem stable so far. We'll see next week what happens with Sue over on Tuku. Did you watch the preview?
Yes,
for the next episode.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
there's
they find
blood?
her like on the ground covered in so much blood or something.
Yeah, I don't know what that's about.
I hope she like catches a boar or something. I don't think they have boars in Fiji, but that'd be wild.
Yeah, I have absolutely no clue what that's going to be about.
That would be the most Twitter will lose their mind if production like let a boar loose on the island or something, and Sue tracks it down and like it just kills it like Michael Scopin style.
I was about to say, yeah.
Murders it, and then we just have Sue just covered in blood, like wrestling a boar. oh, immediately the favorite to win. Just
Mhm.
everyone's going to lose their mind. But yeah, I don't think that's the
Ugh.
case. I think something happens. But
Hopefully nothing bad.
yeah, I don't know what's going to happen moving forward, but it's very nice that the three tribes are even to this point. Will it stay that way? I don't know, but this is the longest we've gone so far with it feeling like a very even and interesting playing field. And, all three tribes have lost their Flint, at least,
Yeah.
have lost it once. So that's unique and fun and interesting. I'm trying to think if there's anything else about the challenge because we were kind of talking about that. Oh, there was another cool drone shot in the challenge. I wrote that down. It's like they got one episode, one really cool drone shot they throw in, but there was like the swinging through drone shot when Tiana and Caroline were jumping off. That I thought was really dope. So they keep sliding those in, and I think that that's really cool when they do those. And then, of course, Genevieve over looking under the bench for an advantage that hasn't been there since season 42 is the last time there was 42? One there.
But I'm trying to remember. They put
it there in 41. The person who was there didn't take it, and then 42 they took it. The first time they did it, they didn't find it, and Jeff was like the second time he was like, last season they didn't find it, so I'm hiding it again.
Yeah,
and it was like
he's not gonna.
Thing.
It's not gonna. There's probably never gonna happen again.
No, I think it was.
But might as well check, I guess, if you're sitting there.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? I think it'd be fun to put something there again. I think it would be fun to give them tasks to do during the challenge.
Like what?
I don't know. But if you could find a way for them, like they basically they have things that they have to do. And it's probably not like things they go around and do, but things you have to do without getting like caught by the other team. Like you have to say certain things, or like maybe you have to like get in the you have to get in the water and get something from under the platform, or I don't know, but make it harder. But I think there's room to have a little bit of fun with it and just make it kind of insane. I think could be kind of fun. I think there's room to do something nuts there if they really wanted to. But I also just don't think they're ever going to do anything there again, because I think it's almost more fun to just let them search for something that's not going to be there again. And then, after the challenge is over, the last thing I want to talk about on the challenge is Rome. Once again, when Jeff asks, like, how are you feeling? And Rome says, Jeff, I went on the journey and I lost my vote. So tonight, it's out of my hands. And just really, really, like, rubbing that in. He thinks he's such a good actor. But I think there's a point where when you keep saying it over and over and over and over again, it doesn't make it sound more true.
Yeah, it becomes less believable.
And Saul, like, called him out on that. And I think the whole interaction sequence between him and Saul, where eventually Saul, like, asks him the question and then he gets flustered, and just that whole sequence was really, really funny and really well done to just show that he felt like he was doing such a good job, and he was talking about like he deserves an Oscar for this performance or whatever. And then he immediately gets flustered and can't keep up the act anymore. And Saul sniffs it out, and he's like, I know that you're deciding between me and Asia. I know I'm not safe. Like, don't pretend that I'm safe. Like, don't come here and treat me like I'm an idiot. But yeah. I thought it was interesting that he chose like that moment and talking to Jeff and like lying to Jeff and like to keep up the charade and really keep playing it up, because I think that that's just only going to make people more suspicious.
Yeah.
And you're doing that for two people, just for Asia and Saul, and you're doing all this to send Asia home. And I still don't know why you hate Asia so much. But
yeah, because he was playing it up big time to Saul, like the whole time. And then Saul's had a really good comment where he was like, you're coming to me with no vote and you're acting like you're all safe. Like, oh, I don't have a vote, but it's not me. Like, if you truly didn't have a vote, you wouldn't be acting like you can still run the show.
Yeah, he was just not. He was just it just didn't seem like he was, well, I'm not going to say it doesn't seem like he was thinking. He wasn't thinking. I don't think Rome thinks. I think Rome does. And unfortunately for everyone, it's working so far because I think Rome is just getting incredibly lucky. But at some point, the luck has to run out, you'd imagine. But we'll see what happens. Because I really hope that Survivor 40 Several does not turn into Survivor Rome by the end. Like, I think the Rome show needs to end.
I needed it to end
promptly.
An episode ago.
I think it will end 3 episodes post-merge.
So long.
Because I think Rome will probably get through the 2 weird votes.
You think he's going to make it through Mergatory and Split Tribal?
Yeah. Unless they snuff out that steal a vote before then, somehow. Because I think Rome's going to get back his idol. I think this next episode he's going to go get it again. So I think he's going to go into the merge with an idol and the steal a vote.
He's going to try to get it back, that's for sure.
Yeah.
He said he was hitting the beach at midnight when he gets back from Tribal.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to look harder than everyone. The thing is, though, is no one cares about hiding anymore. So they're just going to go all look. Like, I think it's going to be an all-out mad dash. Everyone knows everyone's looking.
Yeah.
No one has to be sneaky about it anymore. And so that will change the game a little bit. So maybe someone else finds it. But him going into the post-merge with the steal a vote, I think he's going to be in an okay spot to make it a couple episodes post-merge.
Yeah.
Maybe they can get him out because he gets cocky and thinks he's safe, which wouldn't surprise me either. I guess we'll see. I've talked enough about Rome, though. I don't want to talk about him anymore. Hopefully he's not the focus of next episode, even though I think he probably will be. Anything else you want to discuss about Survivor 47 episode 3? What was it called? Belly of the Beast. I don't know what Belly of the Beast was referring to, but
yeah, I don't remember who said it, but I don't have anything else I want to add, I don't think.
I'm trying to see if I can find out what Belly of the Beast was in reference to. It was said by Jeff during Lavo's tribal council.
Jeff, you can't name the episodes. That's not fair. It's supposed to be the players.
Yeah, I don't even know what he was saying it in reference to.
I think this episode should have been called like the Godson.
Yeah, I think I felt like there were a lot of really good potential titles related to Rome because I feel like he said a lot of quotable things.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, the last thing I'll say about Rome, his confessional stance pissed me off. I was so annoyed. I've never cared about the way someone is stanced in a confessional, but the way he was like reclined in it just was so annoying to me.
His little throne.
Yeah.
His Rome throne.
Yeah. And just like the way he was like leaned over and propped back and like kind of legs kicked up, just exuded like arrogance without saying a word. And I think it's just gonna bite him in the butt later. But it didn't help his case anytime he was saying anything. I was just like, the vibes are not good, Rome. I don't like this. So yeah, I really didn't like his
I can't wait for him to be gone. I'm so ready for him to be gone.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because he's going to be the reason that other interesting players, I think, go home. But I don't know. I would try to end on a hopeful note and say maybe Rome can turn things around, but I'm not confident in that. Before we end the episode, though, we got to go to Peyton's power rankings. And really quickly, I'm going to blow right through them. There have been some small changes. And this week, we're introducing some honorable mentions because now we've seen all 3 tribes. Woo, woo, woo. Honorable mentions who did not make the top 5. Rachel, Kishan, Anika, and Sam falling out of the top 5 is Sam.
You put Sam out of the top 5?
Yep, Sam has fallen out.
I would have kept Sam in the top 5.
Nope. Because there is a new person moving into the top 5.
Anika?
No, I just said Anika's an honorable mention.
Oh, I wasn't listening.
Well, listen. Honorable mentions: Sam, Anika, Kishan, and Rachel. Honorable mentions. They're fine, but they're not power ranking worthy. Like they're on the cusp of getting in, but like they're getting screen time, but not enough. Number 5, Teeny. I think Teeny's really good. This is kind of the first episode that we've seen Teeny though, so I'm not able to put them any higher than 5. 4, same spot, Tiana. Just same spot as last week. I think that they're close to falling lower, but we just didn't see a lot of that tribe. So I just kind of left them where they are. So
I would not have put Tiana in the top 5.
They're in the same spot they were last week. I just left them there because I think she's gonna be, if she makes it to the merge, I think she's gonna be really good. And so I think that she is still in the top of the power rankings. I could see a case. It's just I don't see a case for anyone above her because I don't think Sam's better than she is long term. Anyways, at number 3, I have falling down one spot. I have Sue, and the reason I have Sue falling down one spot is because I have Gabe swapping places with her up to 2, and it's just one of those things that Gabe has moved from 4 to 3 to 2. We didn't see a lot of Tuku this week, though, so it's one of those things where because we're seeing equal parts of each of these tribes, it's kind of hard to know where any of them are moving. Like I've said in the past, really this is going to matter more post-merge. But I think Gabe and Sue, they're getting, even though they weren't the focus of this episode, they got a good chunk of the edit when they were shown. And so I think that bodes well for them. And I think Gabe's an interesting player. I will say, however, not having the idol does make him a little bit weaker, but I think that he has better prospects probably long-term than Sue does. And then number 1, still Sierra. I just think Sierra's in a really good position, but I don't know how any of that's going to shake out post-merge. But like we said before, I don't feel super strongly about anyone. And I think post-merge, there could be a huge shakeup with these, and literally everyone could change. Because I think that alliances as a whole can shift completely, and the dynamics could turn on their head. The one that I'm most interested to see, though, is Teeny, and where Teeny moves in the rankings now that we're actually starting to see them in the edit. And then Kishan as well. I really like him. The little bit that we were able to kind of see him in this, he seems very strategic. So interested to see if that holds or if he's just going to be kind of a background player. So those are my power rankings for this week. Again, I don't feel very strongly about any of them yet, though.
Yeah, I think the only thing I really disagree with is I would put Sam in there instead of Tiana. But
I've said before, that the reason I'm kind of holding Sam out is Sam just doesn't feel like a strong player till the end to me. I really feel like Sam is going with Sierra and not playing his own game. And so I feel like I need to see Sam make, like, when it goes down to it, like, Sam's going to need to make a move for me to feel like Sam has some potential to play the game long term, because I don't know if I see Sam having winning potential. Whereas all these other people I see having winning potential. Sam, I see having second place potential at best. And I'm not here trying to find second place. These are power rankings for the winner.
That's why I picked Sierra, because she's going to win.
Yeah, I think Sierra has a decent shot at winning. Like I said before the season, I was like, I think she's got a good shot. And maybe Andy will keep turning things around. We saw some strategy. Who knows?
That would be the craziest comeback ever.
It would be, honestly, a brilliant arc. Wonderful. I would love that. That'd be nuts.
I wouldn't love that because he's not on my team.
Yeah. I really, like, of the people on my team, who I want to win the most, maybe, would be Anika or Teeny. I think would be the ones I'd be, like, most excited with winning. Because I think they're the most interesting. Or, like, Tiana might also be, like, again, same sort of one where it's like interesting, but I feel like we've had a winner like Tiana before in D. So I think Anika or Teeny are the most interesting. Anyways, those are my power rankings for this week. Not a whole lot has changed. Once again, it's all sort of the same.
Do you have anything else you want to say?
Nope.
About episode 3? All right, then. We will wrap up this recap episode of Survivor 47, episode 3, Belly of the Beast. Okay, Jeff. Jeff, you should not get to name your own episodes.
He's the showrunner.
The host.
I think Jeff can do whatever he wants.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, we would appreciate a rating/review. It helps our podcast grow. And you can check us out wherever you listen to podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all that good stuff. And check us out on social media on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. So thank you for listening, and we'll catch you in the next one.